Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Fashionista Life brought to you by True Fashionistas. I am your host, Jennifer Johnson, and today we welcome to the studio Anthony Leopizzi. He is a private financial wealth advisor at Ameriprise.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm honored that you have me here today.
We're so excited because this is a deep dive. Not, we're entry level right here. Some parts and other parts. I mean, I'm a first timer. Like I know nothing.
Well, it's good that I have tons of experience then, isn't
That's
it?
fabulous, which segues me into how long have you been doing this and how did you get started and why were you interested in this field?
I got plenty of story for that. I am going to enter my 33rd year
Oh, wow.
with Ameriprise,
The same company.
the same company, which is rare these days.
It is.
33 years. I'll be starting in June. Pretty much straight out of college. I did get my securities license prior to that in 1987. So I've been
Wow.
doing it. It'll be close to 40 years soon.
Wow. So you have a lot of knowledge.
A lot. And I've been through quite a few of these roller coaster rides as well.
Like right now.
Like right now.
Which we're gonna take a dive into that. So you have been in this a long time. You've seen a lot of different things. How long have you been here in Southwest Florida?
I transitioned. I had a satellite office that I started, I'd say 7 or 8 years ago, and fully transitioned in 2018, 2019, once my youngest got into college.
Wow.
And I was done with cold weather, and I knew she would be safe in her college campus until COVID hit, of course.
Yeah, right. And then everybody moved back home.
Yeah. Oh, they went virtual. So it was a little bump in the road,
Right.
but didn't deter the plan. I have a little saying in my bathroom that says at the office, and it's there, and it says, if the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. And
I
the
love
goal
it.
was to be here full time.
Love it.
So the plan didn't quite work out with my daughter and COVID and
Yep.
college, but we never changed the goal.
That's awesome. I love that. That relates to so many things in our lives, right?
Absolutely.
So many things. So, you're a private wealth advisor, okay? I know for a lot of the listeners, we have everybody who, we have people on here who are experienced and people who, like myself, who have no idea at all what that means or what you can do for us.
Okay. Well, let me begin by saying Ameriprise is a broker dealer. So they hold my licenses. My firm is Verita Wealth Advisory Group.
Okay.
And to have the distinction as a private wealth advisor, there is A, experience, B, tenure, length in the business, and 3, it's a level of competence and production, shall we say. How many people are you helping? What's the size of the business or the practice that you're running? And you have to meet those hurdles in order to be a private wealth advisor. So I do have junior advisors who work for me. They're associates.
Okay.
So to get to your question, we help everyone who has a desire to be helped.
Got it.
There's no particular
right?
financial hurdle. There's no, some firms put monetary entry levels, if you will, to work with them. We're more of a boutique financial planning practice. And, we have people who do have lots of assets with us. And we also have their children and their grandchildren who are just starting out. So we try and keep that multi-generational planning in line. So anyone who does have that desire to be helped, we're going to help.
And you have to have the desire. It's like anything.
Yeah.
If you
have to be motivated.
Right. You can't just make somebody do it. They have to have that desire.
It just as the saying goes, you can bring the horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
That's so true. That is very, very true. So in the realm of, wealth management, what all falls under that? You do estate planning, you do
Great question, Jennifer. So I am a certified financial planner. I don't know if you've seen those commercials on TV.
Oh, yes, I have.
Where the guy's a DJ, or he's really a DJ, but he's acting as a financial advisor. So that's one of the first credentials that really make you an industry expert. being a certified financial planner. I was certified in 1993. So
Okay.
coming up on 30
years. I
years.
know that date really well because that's I graduated from high school then. And you know what's really funny? I have to segue into this, but 1993, I graduated. 30 years later, my children are going to graduate. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh my word. Okay, I'm getting choked up here.
Yeah. Time does fly.
It does.
So you want to look for those designations. And in the certified financial planner designation, I had to pass a series of exams.
Okay.
So financial planning encompasses, to do it comprehensively, is 6 different areas of planning, right?
All
So
right.
we start, the first area is net worth and cash flow management.
Okay.
How to maximize your cash flow. And what we really want to target there is discretionary income. What's
Okay.
left over at the end of the month?
Right.
After you're done paying all your bills, we want to maximize that discretionary income, because if we have more that's left over, that's more that you get to plan and save with.
Right. Now, I have a question on that, and you may answer it, but do you help people come up with a budget?
We do.
Okay.
We send out an expense worksheet, and part of our job is to scrutinize that expense worksheet and try and identify ways we can help clients improve that cash flow.
Stop going to Starbucks.
It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of everything.
Sure.
It could be insurance premiums, right?
Mhm.
On insurance policies that they have, that they can cut down on insurance premiums. The biggest culprit we find, which is my forte,
Uh-oh.
is tax planning.
Oh.
And I pride myself on my tax prowess,
Mhm.
because I am very, very interested in the tax code,
Mhm.
and helping clients plan to reduce their tax liability is critical in this business. And that's what we find the number one cash flow booster is.
Wow, I didn't really.
Pay less in taxes, more left over for you.
That's right. More discretionary income to
E-
figure out what you're going to do with.
Exactly.
Okay, so
So that's the first
That's the
section.
first
Second section is protection, right? Making sure you're protected. Health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. So it's for those unforeseen circumstances. We want to make sure that if something goes awry, again,
yes,
the goal doesn't get sacrificed.
right.
Might have to change the plan, but never the goal. So we want to make sure your coverages are in place. So just for that what if scenario, right? It's like you have
Yes.
homeowners insurance, right? If just that what if the house
Right.
burns down,
Exactly.
it's there for that what if. Same with auto insurance, right? So we want to make sure your health insurance, your life insurance, disability, and ultimately, as we get older in life, it's that long-term care insurance.
Right. The things that we may not think about in the here and now.
Correct. So that's section number 2. Section number 3 is usually the biggest section that everyone worries about. That's your investment planning. How are your assets allocated? How are they diversified? Are they taxable? Are they non-taxable? Tax deferred? Tax free?
Wow.
So there's a lot of segments in that investment planning. And for listeners out there, if you have children and you might be planning for school, you know, that part of the sub segment of the investment planning is 529 plans and education planning. And where do I save money? Because we only have so much discretionary income to go around.
Right.
Where were we going to put it?
And that's one of the things I wish we would have done with the college savings, which we didn't.
A wise man once told me, you can borrow for a car, you can borrow for a home, you can borrow for college, but you cannot borrow for retirement.
That's so true. Yep.
You can remember that one.
Yes, I won't forget.
So the fourth section in a comprehensive plan is income tax planning.
Okay.
And what we try and do is be proactive on that, increase that discretionary income. Because really, by the time you go and see your accountant or your tax preparer, that year is already behind you, and you can't affect any change to help that tax return at that point, because they're preparing what's already happened.
Been there.
Our job is to look forward, right, and try and affect that change in advance, so that when you go to the tax preparer, we've already know that we've done whatever we could to minimize that tax liability. Okay. Fifth section is retirement planning. That's where we really want to assess basically your glide path. How much are you saving? How much resources do you have available? What are your anticipated sources of income in retirement? So securities, pensions, and the like. And are those resources going to amount to a figure that's going to help you support the lifestyle that you desire in retirement? And if not, what changes do we have to put in place to make sure that glide path reaches 100% of the goal?
Interesting.
And the last section, the sixth area is estate planning.
Okay.
Which, again, 33 years in this business, I've seen a lot. And estate planning entails the passing of that wealth. Right? How effectively do you pass that down? Having beneficiaries in place, having a will in place, if a trust is needed, and then we can get into advanced estate planning strategies.
Wow. There's a lot that actually encompasses what you do.
There's a lot.
It's impressive. Like I had no idea. It's like the onion peel.
Yeah.
It's like, and there's another layer.
There's always another layer,
Wow.
and it gets deeper and deeper, and there's a lot there.
So I guess I'm going to throw this out there because this is my belief, or how I grew up in a small farm family, no money, no anything. We didn't have a financial planner. We didn't know what they did. Right. Is that, and you may get this question. I don't know. Oh, I don't have enough money to work with a financial planner, or I have too much debt to work with a financial planner. Can you walk us through that?
We get that quite often, and it's a misperception by the general public. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning, some investment firms will put minimums in order for you to work with them. And that's okay. That's their choice. But as a boutique financial planning firm that really has an interest in helping the general public, we don't turn anybody away, because we do have junior advisors that will, everyone has to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's never too late to start, and you have to start somewhere.
And you shouldn't be intimidated.
Should not be intimidated, because, starting or beginning is the first step. Right. And you can always build on it from there.
Right.
So
that's great
shouldn't
advice.
be intimidated, shouldn't be scared. There's no, monster minimum for you to start with. There's no this big monster in the closet. Right. No.
There's a monster under the desk.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
It's not there. I promise you, it's not there.
Well, that's really awesome, because that will dispel that myth for a lot of people, because I know I'm not among, few. There's a lot of us that feel that way.
Yeah. So, you have to really be mindful and just get started.
That's awesome advice. Absolutely awesome advice. All right. We are going to head to a quick commercial break, and coming back from the break, we are going to talk about inflation and what is happening right now. We're all hearing about. I know that's a scary monster, right?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to head to a commercial break, and we will be right back with you.
Great.
So we just break for a couple seconds so that they can throw in the commercial and
take it right back.
Awesome. Have you done a podcast before?
Never.
Okay. Well, you're doing great.
Thank you.
But see, it's just like, I'm going to throw stuff in as I'm thinking of it. The one thing I forgot to ask you was, do you do this for businesses?
Yes.
So I'll probably throw that in right away, because we just talked about what you do. Now, in the second one that we do, we won't talk as long about, we won't go into the whole thing, but we'll talk about surface level what you do.
Sure.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in. You're listening to The Fashionista Life, brought to you by True Fashionista, and I am your host, Jennifer Johnson, and we are here today with Anthony Leopizzi, and he is a private wealth advisor at Ameriprise. Welcome back.
Thank you, Jennifer. Glad to be here.
And so we were just talking about what you do and the 6 different areas of financial planning and all of that, and I did forget to ask a question. I know you do all of this for individuals, but do you do this for businesses as well?
We absolutely do. You can basically be classified into 2 different segments. There's people who work and have a W-2 job, and they'll have employee benefits, which will help them maximize. and then there's businesses.
Mhm.
And there's a whole different set of rules that apply to businesses in the tax code primarily, and the types of retirement plans they can establish, and different types of write-offs that they can qualify for. So there's a lot more flexibility
Okay.
with what businesses, particularly small businesses, can do.
So if you have an individual who also owns a business, it's kind of combined into one.
Correct. We
It's
typically marry the two
Mhm.
because what happens in the business will eventually flow down to the household and the personal level.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about a doozy here. Inflation rates. Okay, we've all been hearing this in the news. It's all we're hearing about, right?
I think we're more than hearing it. We're feeling it.
We're feeling it, absolutely, and I totally agree. And I'm saying that inflation right now, it's at a 40-year high, right?
It's at a 40-year high.
The last time we had this, we had high hair, big shoulder pads, and
Yeah,
and
late
high
70s,
inflation.
early 80s. Yes, I remember I was in college and I was saving for my first spring break trip.
Ooh.
And I remember, like, let's put the money in the CD for the next year, right? And a 9-month CD, we were getting 12, 13% interest. So some of you may remember those days,
Mhm.
some may not. And it was a distinct memory. I remember that was my first form of saving for that spring break trip. And we were getting 12, 13, 14% on
Wow.
CDs.
Wow.
So I can't say that we're headed back there right
Yeah.
now. But we are moving in that direction. So we are at a 40-year high. Depending on where inflation ends this year,
Mhm.
we did an 8.5% print in March. We did an 8.3% annual inflation increase in April. So we'll see what the May print is. That comes out on June 10th. And hopefully it starts to inch down so that we don't feel it as much. It is taking place mostly in food and energy. I think that's where
Oh, yeah.
people
And
see it the most.
We're definitely feeling it at the pump and at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
So-
Because if you X that out, the inflation rate is a lot lower.
So I have a inflation 101 question. Okay, coming from, again, I feel like I'm financial 101, course. For me, how does inflation get there? What is inflation? How does it get to be where it's at, and how do we not have how does that all work?
It gets there two ways. The first is supply and demand.
Okay.
It's like everything else. If something is in short supply and there's a lot of demand for it, naturally the price rises because you have more people or more demand vying for the same limited amount of product.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step in inflation: short supply and large demand.
Okay.
Okay. What creates all that demand and what creates a shortened supply? Well, we just experienced that with COVID. We had supply chain disruptions, which are still getting sorted out,
Yes.
right? Because there's shortages of items,
Mm-hmm.
from appliances to food to
Cars. I mean, everything.
micro processing chips,
Right.
right? So there's a short supply there. What created the demand side was the amount of money the government threw at the problem.
Oh.
All those stimulus checks, all those PPP loans that didn't have to be paid back. It was a pile of free money.
Money, 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 money.
And it had to go somewhere. So you have all this money chasing a shortened supply chain. And that's what's really causing the inflation. Now, there's some other things thrown in there, like the war, which is affecting oil, the war in the Ukraine. But it's mostly supply and demand. And it was explained to me like this. If you picture, we all live in Southwest Florida. We all know that there's a lot of snakes around here. So if you picture a snake eating something, a raccoon, a rat, or something, when it first ingests it, you can see it's like the proverbial golf ball in the garden hose. And as it moves through the snake, you'll see it wither and get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's what's happening with our economy right now.
Oh, that's a great way
We
to
got
put
this
it.
pile of money that got thrown at this problem, and everybody just had to spend it.
Right.
So that's the snake ingesting the animal immediately. And as it's going to take a while for that money to move through the system
Mhm.
until the inflation wears off.
That's a great analogy. I'm a very visual person.
Well, there you have it.
And I'm sure, everybody learns differently. So that makes complete sense. So that's kind of how we got there.
Mhm.
Okay. So how is it affecting I mean, we all know how it's affecting the public, right?
Well, we have to be
It's-
smart on what we're doing. I put a couple of pointers there for your listeners. So we know fuel is the biggest culprit.
Oh,
And
man.
there is an app.
Oh, there's an app.
Gasbuddy.com.
Okay.
Right.
And we'll put we'll put this in the comment section of our podcast so that
Great.
people can
Yeah,
see that.
and you can you can look it up on the internet, and it'll give you a representation in your local area where the cheapest gas is.
Awesome.
So you can find your favorite gas
I
station.
could not believe I filled up the other day, $4.99. Now I remember the days when it was 99 cents.
Wow.
I don't remember when that was, but I know I was driving because I remember filling up and going, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can remember $1.25, $1.35 back when I first started driving. Yeah.
Crazy to
Yeah.
$4.99.
Yeah.
And I know that's cheap compared to some other places in the country. I'm where it's over
the big
$5.
metropolitan areas are in excess of $6 right now.
That's just crazy. And we have friends who live out of the country and they're used to paying right now, they're paying $13 a gallon.
I was just
10.
in Italy last month. And it was close to $2 a liter, right? And there's like 3.75 liters to a gallon, right? So that's close to $7 or $8 a gallon.
It's crazy.
It's
Crazy.
expensive.
So Gas Buddy is a great tool.
Gas Buddy is a great tool.
What else can we do?
You have to be smart on where we shop. Your grocers, you really have to pay attention to the pricing on the grocers and which place you actually shop at, because some grocers are less expensive than others.
Right.
If you have the opportunity to buy in bulk, where it's less, like a Sam's Club or a Costco, for items that you know you will use.
Because haven't we all been in that where we go and they're sampling something and we're like, ooh, that tastes good. Or there's a big package of something and we're like, oh yeah, I need that.
That's a great price.
I gotta have it.
And it'll sit in the closet for months.
My dad always said to me, can you afford to save that much? Because you go buy all this stuff in bulk and it sits there and then it's outdated.
Right.
How many times have we done that?
It'll expire and you have to get rid of it. And that's not a good use of funds. So you have to make sure it's something that you are going to use. And the price clubs usually have good gas prices too.
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
When I'm in Costco, I try and fill up when I'm there.
It makes great sense. You're right there. Why not? Right. Energy. Your lights. Solar power.
You have to be cognizant of your energy usage. So the next thing we can do to control inflation, because it's all run by fuels, electricity, natural gas, oil. We're used to running our air conditioners or our pool heaters at certain temperatures in our area here. So we have to be cognizant. Just change that by a couple of degrees. And that will be a big savings at the end of the month just by making that small energy shift. So turn the thermostat up a degree or two higher, not keep it as cool as you normally would with the air conditioning, and the pool heater, turn it down. Don't keep it as warm as you usually do.
It's getting hot here anyway.
Yes, soon you won't need it.
You know what I was absolutely shocked at? So we moved to a different location. True Fashionistas combined and moved into a larger location. And we're thinking, the electric bill is going to be crazy. We installed LED lights in everything.
Excellent idea.
We're paying less in a huge store than we were paying in 3 locations.
Wow. Yeah.
By
Great idea.
LED.
Great idea. Yeah. Energy efficiency, LED lighting. I've done that throughout our house. We put an energy efficient LED high hats and lighting in the house. It certainly helps on the electric cost. For sure.
And I'm shocked at how much, because yes, you may pay a little bit more when you're installing it or getting the bulbs, but they last forever. And the cost savings is so much more.
Yes. Yes. Great idea. Great idea. So you contributed to that. That's great.
And what else?
let's say
Like in investments, is there anything that affects?
hard assets. Yeah. In an inflationary environment like this, if you remember to the times of high CDs and big hair and shoulder pads,
Way back in the day.
hard assets typically perform well. Hopefully, we don't get to a point where there's gas lines.
So what's a hard asset?
A hard asset is physical, real estate.
Oh my gosh, and that's just gone
We all know where
bonkers.
that's gone
Oh,
around
if
here.
only I had more than one house.
Right? Should have bought it all up when it was cheap a few years ago,
And
right?
if you had that glass ball, that
That
crystal,
crystal
yeah.
ball. So hard asset real estate is a hard asset, and that typically does well in an inflationary time, as we've seen, particularly in the last 12 months. Gold, metals,
Oh, back to that.
commodities, because we all know that food's going up. So the price of wheat, and soybeans, and orange juice, those are hard assets, commodities.
And hopefully my dad's a farmer, and I remember back in the day, it never really trickled down to the farmer. It was more
It got absorbed on the way.
it did.
Mm.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, very
Right.
unfortunate. So those types of things are hard assets. Energy, right? If we're using energy, oil, gasoline, those are commodity type hard assets that typically perform well, and we've seen that performing well and holding up in the current environment while other things are going down.
Right. And I know today, just on the news, they were talking about, I can't remember what they called it, but stagflation.
Stagflation.
What does that mean? Because I hear these terms being thrown around. Like, I don't know what that is.
It's a combination of inflation and prices moving up, but the economy's kind of standing still.
So
it's
people aren't
stagnant.
spending money?
Or
Or there's
they're spending money, but the growth of the economy is not keeping up with the inflationary pressure, right?
Okay.
So, for example, incomes may not be rising as fast as the cost of living is, right? With the prices of food and gas and everything else going up. So you want to make sure that the income can keep up with those increases, so you're not falling behind or it's eating more of your paycheck.
Got it. Can that turn into a recession?
It can.
I mean, because that's the word that's getting thrown around right now.
It absolutely can, because once the general public reaches that pain point where they say, okay, this is just too expensive, they'll start cutting back. And that's what's going to affect sales of companies. We just saw that this week with a couple of retailers who
yes,
the pricing pressures got to their
yes.
cost of goods, and people are starting to pull back or maybe not shop as much because they're being a little more cognizant or thrifty with where they're spending their money, and it affects the retailers.
And what's very interesting about that is, in our industry, which is resale, we're seeing more shoppers, and we're seeing more
because they're going for a better price point.
Exactly. They can get more for their dollar with resale than they are going to be, and they're getting a different product, because the regular stores have been it seems like never getting new things in because of that whole supply chain
right.
issue.
Oh, they're in short supply.
Yeah. And so they have that, and then they're paying more for the same stuff. So they're shopping resale. So they're getting more for their dollar, unique pieces, and then they're selling their stuff too.
That's great.
Yeah. To make up for that extra gas, price.
Right. Because it now is eating into that discretionary income.
Absolutely.
So it's a perfect way to find some additional discretionary income, right?
It is.
Go find a better price point for a product.
Absolutely. Well, this concludes our time here for our first podcast with you. That was so fabulous.
Thank you. Yay.
I learned a lot. And I look forward to
That's
our next.
the goal.
Yes, it is. I look forward to our next podcast where we can dive a little bit deeper into some more subjects. Again, we were speaking today with Anthony Leopizzi, and he's a private wealth advisor at Ameriprise. Anthony, if anyone who's listening to us today wants to get a hold of you, how do they do so?
My office line is 914-997-7526. A simple Google search by my name.
Okay.
I will come up in the area. I have
Fabulous.
2 locations. My primary office is now here in Naples, and my satellite office is back in the White Plains, New York area,
Okay.
which I'm originally from.
Awesome.
So a simple Google search will get that website address,
Okay.
and that's the phone number.
And we can also drop it into our chat at the
Absolutely.
end of our podcast so that everybody has that right at their fingertips. And thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Appreciate it. And until next time, make it great.